Oh, here we go, look at this. Wow.
You're now standing on some of the initial footprint of the world's first purposefully built enclosed international football ground, which was the first Hampden. It's the most important map in football, I believe.
It's amazing. Like, yeah, it doesn't. It's really surreal to be here after all the planning and stuff that got, you know, volunteers from like across the world and across the community. This is a globally important site. Without this place, football as we know it probably doesn't exist. You know, it's a crucial piece in the jigsaw kind of thing.
Right, I'm going to start today's video here at Hampden Park. Look at this. I'm sure you've all heard of Hampden Park before if you've seen my videos. If not, then hello, welcome to the channel. Please like and subscribe. Yes, this is the location for my second most viewed video ever, the abandoned stadium of Hampden Park. It's amazing. You'll make videos about Liverpool, Man United that will do tiny numbers, but you'll do a video about a team that are no longer here in an abandoned stadium, and yeah, it'll be viewed 100,000 times. But that is just the YouTube algorithm for you. Why is this a significant place to start today's video? Well, this is the site of the second Hampden Park. The third Hampden Park is now the modern Hampden Park, but there is a first Hampden Park as well. And there is a group of people called the Scotch Professors who do an amazing job in trying to preserve and remember the legacy of the first Hampden, which is still kind of standing. Part of the building is still here. There's an amazing mural as well. And yeah, they've invited me along today to the first Hampden to, apparently they're going to be digging the land to try and see what they can find. It should be an absolutely intriguing video. It was the first purposely built building for international football, but yeah, it ties in nicely to the Euros. Let's go and see what we can find out. Here we are now, coming up to one of the most important and famous footballing sites in the world when it comes to international football. And yeah, what better time to make a video here about this than now, with the Euros coming up and with games being played just a few meters away really at Hampden Park. And look, you can see on there, Hampden Bowling Club, Scotland 5, England 1 on this ground, 11th of March 1882, and the first Hampden. Graeme, if you'd just like to explain a little bit about who you are and why this site here is so important.
So today we've got the Archaeology Scotland team who have come in to do their first excavation on the first Hampden. This has been in the making for over 5-6 years, working with the Archaeology Scotland team, who had originally done a dig in Hampden Park, which is the second Hampden, and now they've upped it to the first Hampden, which is what they're doing today. It's a week-long excavation. They're doing ground penetrating radar as well as trenches, which is the trench that's going on behind us. And it's amazing to think that what they might find, because this is the world's first purposefully built enclosed international football ground. The first international football match, the official one, was held at West of Scotland Cricket Ground on St Andrew's Day 1872. You're now standing on some of the initial footprint of the world's first purposefully built enclosed international football ground, which was the first Hampden. It was here from 1873 to 1883.
And have you got any expectations on what people might be able to find here?
We are really hoping to find either evidence or part of the original foundations of the grandstand that ran in this ground, also the pavilion itself within the grounds, and then ultimately if there's any relics or artefacts which the guys can find while they're on their dig, that would be amazing.
So yeah, we are now inside the famous Hampden Bowling Club, such a famous footballing site that everyone should know about. Yep. Could you just take me around some of these different relics that you have on the walls and stuff, and just explain a little bit about what they mean?
Okay, so this is Hampden Bowling Club's Wall of Fame, is what we call it. It's got all our club champions and all our presidents. Hampden Bowling Club's been here since 1905, so our big one in the middle shows you the different presidents we've had through the years. The roof above you is the first enclosed international football ground pavilion, because it was sitting on the second Hampden, and just as luck would have it, Queen's Park were moving out of the second Hampden up to the first Hampden, up to the third Hampden, and they brought back the pavilion back to this.
So we're currently in the building that is recognised as the first ever international football
pavilion, yes. So the roof above you is the first international football pavilion. It is recognised that this is the Scotland changing room, and next door in the ladies changing room is the England changing room of old. Also, you have the first Scottish Cup final that was played here on this ground as well, so it obviously has significance for the ground that you're in. But as a pavilion, this is arguably the most important football building in the world.
And Queen's Park were strongly linked, and there are some Queen's Park pictures here, right? Is this the Queen's Park team of?
So this is Queen's Park opening the first Hampden Pavilion in 1878.
Yep.
This gives you the roof line, and very similar to what is Hampden Bowling Club today.
And that is what we're in just now.
Yes. So the roof forms part of the original first Hampden Pavilion. Yep. If you then go along, that's 1878. In 1875, Queen's Park played Wanderers, who were the mighty of the English establishment in terms of football. Queen's Park beat them 5-0. Queen's Park played Wanderers in the first semi-final of the FA Cup. A lot of people don't realise that Queen's Park played in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
They were in the semi-final, they drew 0-0. The game was scratched because Queen's Park could not come back down. And then in the last one, you have the first Scottish Cup final. Queen's Park beat Clydesdale 2-0 in the first Scottish Cup final that was held on this ground. Queen's Park are the third most winners of the Scottish Cup. They've won it 10 times, more than everyone other than the Old Firm.
And I absolutely love what you're doing here. I've obviously made videos from the outside about the Hampdens before and stuff like that. Why do you find it so important to keep the memories alive of the Queen's Parks and of the old international building and stuff like that?
Queen's Park are the most important football club of all time. They not only created the stadium template, which is the grandstand's first use of turnstiles and the members book. So Queen's Park created that. They also created the passing and running game on this ground as well. And of course, if you have something that this is so important, this is in effect the Mecca of football. And it should be recognised like that. The building should get the necessary investment to restore it. We've been running Restore First Hampden project for 4 years. It needs a lot of TLC in the building, but not only as a football site, because obviously that's important, which is actually bigger than just the bowling club footprint, but the bowling club, when you see the heritage that's in here just on a bowling front, it's actually as a functioning bowling club that you're still able to call this First Hampden. Now this map is from the National Records of Scotland, and what it shows you here is football ground. First grandstand, first pavilion, Cathcart and Turnpike Road is now known as Queen's Park Avenue. This is the railway line being pushed right through the middle of the ground. So we had two clues. First Hampden was in the shadows of Hampden Terrace, which is up the hill at Prospect Hill, and the other one was the railway went right through the middle of the ground. This map, I found this map in 2017. And it proved without doubt that not only was a football ground, Queen's Park were on it, the grandstand and the pavilion. And the legend that had gone through Hampden Bowling Club was, you're standing in the first Hampden Park and the pavilion that you see is in the Rose Garden on the other side. This map proved the legend.
Ah, right, okay, so was there a lot of, how hard was it to find this map then? How hard was it to find the proof that you needed?
So no one had, the legend had gone through the bowling club, and a few football historians had it down as the first Hampden Park, but there was no categoric proof. The reason the map is so important was that if you go into the National Library of Scotland, there are no ordnance maps of the football ground at the time when the ordnance maps were done. So it was missing, and you couldn't find it. The reason the map's important is because I realised that the District Railway went through it. All the District Railway logs of the time are found in the National Records of Scotland, the National Archive, and I wrote away and said, can you tell me anything you've got between Crosshill Station and Mountford Station, which is along these lines? And they sent me two maps. This is the map that proves
and there it
that
is.
The first Hampden Park is here, and there's a logbook that sits underneath it, which is here, which shows you that it's number 156, football ground, grandstand, clubhouse, slopes, privies, offices and ditches. The Lord Provost owns it, Queen's Park Football Club, Richard Brown Secretary, and this is in.
And that was the proof that you needed?
This is the proof. And the only proof in the world that shows the first Hampden Park.
Wow, amazing. So what an important document that is, what an important map.
It's the most important map in football, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. And just from your point of view personally then, what got you into like trying to research this? You obviously have a passion for this kind of football and the history. Why do you find it so important for yourself to work with this?
So I moved into Kingsley Avenue, which is the street adjacent, and in 2012 I got a letter through the door, which was the committee explaining to the neighbours that if they didn't use it, they would lose it. 2012, and then since then I've got more involved in the club as a bowling club, trying to give it a future. Bowling clubs are all under pressure to survive. There are bowling clubs, there's bowling clubs that have shut in this area in recent times, so we need to keep it as a functioning bowling club. The historical side, which is where we run Hampden Collection out of, which I founded, which was to basically take the football story and run it separately. Football and bowls don't really mix. So the Hampden Collection's here to promote and celebrate the 3 Hampden Parks and everyone that played on them.
Where can people go and find you, and yeah, what are your plans moving forward?
So you go onto the Hampden Collection website, www.hampdencollection.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter. You'll find all this stuff about the history of the first Hampden Park, all our videos, all our work that we've done over the last 4 years, the mural you'll see on there. There's a poetry section which really does change how you interpret football. It's the art world. Ashley's work on the mural, and then more importantly the history. So we're pushing on the Euros in Scotland, but telling this story because it goes against what most people view as a story of football. It's the real story of football. This is the watch your head, and those are anti-vandal paint, so don't get it on your clothes.
Okay.
Go on your Scotland top blue.
No, not before the Euros. Oh, here we go. Look at this. Wow. So was this the first captain, right?
So
is that
Charles
right?
Campbell was captain on the Scotland 5, England 1. So Charles Campbell was a Queen's Park captain, Scottish captain, SFA president, and credited with inventing heading the ball.
Yep.
You've got Scotland England 5. The main thing here is on this ground, because you are standing on the first Hampden. Scotland England 5-1.
Amazing to be standing here on the first Hampden with the Scotland 5 England 1, knowing that just in a few weeks they'll be playing down at Wembley and playing each other, and Scotland will be playing at Hampden. Yeah,
you never know what the scoreline was.
Yeah.
And then Andrew Watson, he is the world's first black international footballer, first black international captain, first black football administrator.
Amazing, isn't it? How much he pioneered.
He set the standard for all black players that followed him.
Yeah. Where was he from?
He was Guyanese descent. His father was from Orkney.
Oh, okay.
Peter Miller Watson, and he was brought back over from Guyana.
Wow.
But he did a university degree at Glasgow University. He played at Park Grove, and eventually he came to Queen's Park. Played for Queen's Park, got straight into the Scotland team.
Wow.
Captain on his debut, which you just don't know, in an away game. And unfortunately sorry for you, Sam, but the 6-1 game that he captained Scotland is still the biggest defeat England has ever had on home soil.
There we go.
So there you go, and then you've got the rest of the mural, which is that way.
Yeah.
11th of March 1882 is the date. The key thing is that 135 years later to the day was the day that I found the only map in existence proving the site of the first Hampden Park.
Wow. And that's very poetic how it happened on the day as well.
And they were both Saturdays.
And here comes the train. The train that ruined the first Hampden, right?
That is perfect time.
Right on time. Yeah, here we go. I know, it's mad. Checking the times. Kieran, thank you so much for just stopping to chat. You're working here with the archaeology team. Could you just explain a little bit about like where we actually are right now and what you're doing here?
Okay, so we think we're fairly certain from the cartographic evidence, the map from 1879, that we are basically at the kind of what would have been the back of the grandstand of the first Hampden, so built in 1873. And what we're doing is we're just starting to take the turf off. So we identified this sort of like little lump with a really clean straight edge at the back of it, and that doesn't, to us it looks like it's a man-made feature. It's not.
So that's like natural. A little clue to show that maybe this is where the original stadium was?
Exactly, yeah. So what we think is that's part of, because it's quite a sort of low little bump, it's potentially you know, once they've demolished it, maybe a bit's been left, or it's kind of foundations that are now sticking up.
Yeah.
There obviously is the train track, so they might have dumped some spoil from the train track over, but the fact it's in a straight line to us shows it's a building, and it fits up really nicely with the map. So it's exactly. It's a close wee bit of evidence.
Oh, nice. And yeah, it's an amazing story, of course. Like the first Hampden, the second Hampden, the third Hampden. What are you expecting to find? Is there anything that you have hoped that you might find here?
I mean, so here specifically, I mean, I kind of think it'd be amazing if we find something about the fans, the people that came to watch the games. Can you imagine the first purpose-built international football stadium seen Scotland versus England back in the 1870s, first Scottish Cup final. So these sometimes sites get buttons. People in those days wore big coats. Buckles maybe off shoes, hat, buckles. I think a button or something. It's just one of those wee pieces you can say, this is from the 1870s.
This is from a fan who would have been here celebrating a goal and it's flown off.
Yeah,
or something.
exactly.
Could be a story like that.
You know, scenes in the stands.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right back at the start.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, kind of bigger than that, I ideally would like to find some foundations, a wall, or something we can say, right, this is part of a substantial building.
Yeah.
We found the grandstand.
And so for you personally then, I've spoken to a few of the other kind of archaeological guys who are here today. Some of them aren't even big football fans, but are you a football fan yourself?
Yeah.
So for you to work on something like this, with your passion of course, and your like work that you're doing as well, how does that feel for you?
Oh, it's amazing. Like, it doesn't, it's really surreal to be here after all the planning and stuff. It got, you know, volunteers from like across the world and across the community. This is a globally important site. Without this place, football as we know it probably doesn't exist. You know, it's a crucial piece in the jigsaw kind of thing, and it's right here, and it's in Glasgow, and you know, kind of, it's archaeology for the people, and it's the people's game, isn't it?
Amazing, yeah, and more people need to know about this place.
100%, 100%. But it's special, it's special.
So yeah, unbelievable. I've made a few videos here before, but great to chat to Graeme, who is just over there taking some more people into the famous Hampden Bowling Club. This is the building that is the first ever international or purposely built international football stadium, football pavilion, as I guess it was known back in the day. Absolutely amazing. To think of the football history, the football heritage. If it wasn't for this place, if it wasn't for Queen's Park, if it wasn't for those early pioneers of football, then we wouldn't have Scotland playing England in a few days down at Wembley. We wouldn't have the Euros at the moment. Like I said when I made a video about the three Hampdens before, if it wasn't for this place, if it wasn't for the heritage that Hampden Park #1 kind of stands for, then we wouldn't have the World Cup, we wouldn't have the Euros, we wouldn't have international football as we see it. We may not even have heading, we might not have passing. I think Queen's Park invented the crossbar. There is so much to thank this place for, not just this place, but also Graeme as well, who looks after it. They need people to know about this place. They need stories like this to be told, and I'm more than happy to tell amazing stories like this around football and about the history of the game. Because if it wasn't for people like Graeme keeping stories like this going, then yeah, who knows like how much of football we'd remember.